Welcome. I've been asked to talk more about knowing meditation. And first of all, I'll say I'm calling it knowing meditation because what does insight mean? Or what does mindfulness mean? I mean, do we really know what that means? I'm not sure I do. I mean, I know what it means when I have it, but as far as really defining um what we're doing, I think knowing. And the reason how I arrived at knowing was I was talking to my son, 23 years old, and I was talking about noting, and he said, "That's not what it is." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "It's knowing." And I went, "Wow, okay, yeah, I like that." And it really is knowing. So, anyways, that's where that came from. Uh, so, in this video, I'm going to talk about more about how it works, how knowing works, how you practice knowing. I don't like the word practice either because this isn't a dress rehearsal. And um, the results you can expect coming up. So, knowing is what people almost never do. They're externally focused on wanting, liking, not liking, fearing, anticipating, um, all those kind of things, and they don't know that they can know that they're doing that. They're just doing it automatically. They get a sense impression. They see something. They see an advertisement. They see a car. They see bicycle or a mountain bike or whatever, and they want it, and off they go. And they don't know what they're doing. So when you're knowing what you're doing, you're watching those processes. You're there, aware of those processes as they unfold. You may not stop them. You might have a great idea about a new, app or business or something like that, and you shouldn't stop that, but you should know about it while you're doing it. And what you can do if you know what you're doing is you can learn more about yourself, about the processes of the mind, about how desire works, how anger, how prejudice, how fear, how anxiety work, and you can become more proactive, is that a word to use? More involved in how deeply you want to participate in these processes. And when you're knowing, you can also not go there. You can stop that process because you see it's not going to be a source of happiness. It's just going to, if the process that's starting is, oh, I'm going to beat myself up because I'm such a dummy and I'm no good or something, you can stop that. Knowing about it really curtails it. Really kind of puts, it can put a damper on it if you want it to, you know. And the way it works is also what it can do is protect your mind. And the way it protects your mind, and what you want to protect your mind from, is like unwholesome, uncomfortable, kind of pointless, painful mental processes. And the way the mind works is it's really fast. And it's doing 100,000 things more than you think it is. And the way it works is something appears at one of your sense doors, meaning either something to see or something to hear or something to think about. And then the mind becomes aware. This is called the cognitive process. The mind becomes aware that there's something at a sense door. Then it averts to that sense door. Then it registers the thought or the physical thing that's in front of the eyes or the sound. But when the eye sees something, it doesn't see a car or a bicycle. It just sees color and shape. Then, and when you hear, you don't hear a bird or a gunshot or music. You just hear sound vibrations. Then the mind starts figuring out if it's heard it or seen it or thought it before, then it can recognize it. If it hasn't, then it has to start perceiving what it is, because it wants to put a name on it. It wants to. Oh, I hear music. I see a car. I'm thinking about business. It wants to come up with a name and a kind of a category for what it is. And this is all okay up until a certain point where, after it knows what it is, it starts liking it, hating it, wanting it, not wanting it, etc. And that's where the problems start arising. So if your knowing is really sharp, you can stop a thought or a perception before it gets into dicey territory, before it goes somewhere that you don't want. And that saves you from unskillful, unwholesome, unwanted, unpleasant experiences. And it also conduces to peace and happiness, because all you're doing is just experiencing these things without thinking about them and without grabbing on. Oh, I like that. I'm going to grab onto that and really take a ride on it, you know. And you can avoid doing that if you're really knowing what you're doing. So, and ultimately, this tool of knowing, you can go really amazing places. You can get enlightened, so to speak. You can get into incredible spiritual states of mind if you get really good at it. So, all by knowing. And it's so simple. People start knowing and they go, oh, well, should I know it in this way or know it in that way? Or how should I lay, if I'm noting it, how should I note it? What, is that the right word and all that? It really doesn't matter. We're trying to cut down on thinking, not create a whole cosmic, what do they call it? A whole story around these things, or a whole alternate reality or something. It's the important thing is the knowing. You know, stick with that. Keep it simple. Take it easy. Don't worry about it. Just do it. So, knowing what you're doing is going to bring happiness. It's going to bring simplicity. It's going to bring peace. And it's going to bring knowing about the last thing that most people look at, and that's you. Your mind, your body. You know, if you're knowing about your body, you know where it's painful, you know what it's doing, you know it's sitting, you know it's walking, and then people go, oh, you know, oh, sure, you know. That's the thing is it's counterintuitive also. It's so simple and counterintuitive that it doesn't sound like it would be that powerful of a tool, and it is. It can be if you develop it. So another word I'm having trouble with is meditation. Like, okay, what does that mean? Do I have to sit down and close my eyes and cross my legs and everything? No. To practice knowing, you don't have to do that. You can do it while you're washing the dishes, doing the laundry, walking, for exercise, laying down. I always do it when I lay down to go to sleep. I mean, what are you going to do when you lay down to go to sleep? Think about stuff, or just know your mind, and it'll help you go to sleep. Actually. So, meditation, the word meditation, what does that mean? And sometimes they say contemplation. Well, contemplation kind of means thinking about, and we don't really want to think about. So don't contemplate, just know. And you don't have to call it meditation, it's just knowing. So that's kind of what I'm about at this point, is keeping it simple, I'm trying to go to the real simple meaning of the simple process of what we're talking about. And I hope I'm succeeding, and please comment. Ask questions, say, gee, I can't stand the background, it's distracting, or what did you mean by whatever I said? Or it would be helpful if you could explain, I have a question, could you explain noting in more detailed, you know, because I don't know what you're thinking. So it's helpful to me. And if you find these videos helpful, then if I'm, responding to your questions or observations or something, then it'll be more helpful to you. So all the best, and see you next time.